Hey, 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 good evening, everyone. Lavette Min here.
Hey, what's up, everybody? Shara Prophet here. Welcome back. All righty. So, today we are going to be addressing the importance of speaking out against your excuse me, your opposition. That can be in the form of somebody verbally attacking you. It could be someone who has physically assaulted you. Anyone or any entity or group that has caused some sort of harm to you and caused you some sort of distress. We're talking about why it's important to utilize your voice and speak out. We're seeing so much of this happening now with everything 2024. We were just, seeing everybody coming out of the woodwork, telling their story. But Lavette, you and I know this very well that there's some people out there still afraid to speak out. We get
Yeah,
messages all the time about, people who are afraid to speak out in public, but they just want to share their story with someone because they feel comfortable with coming to us. So we just want to highlight more of the energetics as of the importance, but the energetics of speaking out and how that can be very, very empowering for you.
yes.
Yes, yes, yes. So I'm gonna go ahead and kick it off. And the first thing that I want to talk about is that, of course, using your voice is one of the most powerful things you can do. We know that in the creation, right, the voice was used, right? God spoke it and it happened. So we know
Hmm.
that when we speak things, especially when you speak it from the heart, you send a ripple effect throughout the entire universe, throughout the entire cosmos, throughout the earth. And you can really shift things with your voice as long as you are in integrity with it, because even if you are shaking stuff up with your voice, if there's no truth behind it, if you've made it up, guarantee it's going to come back to bite you in the behind. So it's
Hmm.
important to make sure you're speaking from a space of truth. And it helps when you have receipts. It helps when you have something to prove your point. So your voice in the face of opposition can literally shift and change the trajectory of the energy, because usually what's happening, whoever that is that's your opposition or who's attacking you or who's like publicly shaming you, degrading your name or saying things about your business or whatever, 9 times out of 10 the reason why they hold a lot of power is because no one's saying anything. And
Hmm.
the things that kind of irritates me a little bit is when you do speak out finally and then people are like, oh, you're giving it energy, you're just giving them more power. No, baby. No, no,
Yeah.
no. I'm shattering the power that they thought they had. So how do you feel about that, Lavette?
Oh, I absolutely agree. By speaking out, like you said, the power of your voice. So once you step into your power and align with the energy of courage, you shatter the illusions and the strongholds that your predators have over you by speaking out and exposing the deception and the attacks that were launched against you. So there's just so much
Mhm.
power in exposing your oppressors, your predators, and
Yep.
speaking out. So I'm in total agreement. Total agreement. I think it's
Yeah.
very important
Yeah.
to not sit silent, because when you do that, they're able to further manipulate you and control you. And in a sense, it helps them to thrive. And you're also doing the collective a disservice when you don't speak out, because that means that you leave the door open for other people to be harmed
Hmm.
potentially,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
So, yeah, I totally agree. There's power in speaking out, breaking the spell.
That's right.
Yeah. All right. So, what I am going to be doing tonight is breaking down the 7 hermetic principles and how they can be used to protect yourself while also disempowering your predators. Okay, so let's just jump right into it. So, the first hermetic principle is the law of mentalism, right? Share one of my favorites. All is
Mine
mine.
too.
Yeah, all is mine. So we know that everything begins in the mind because all is mine. Your thoughts shape your reality. So if you feel like you are under a spiritual attack, it all starts as psychological control. If someone is able to instill fear in you, they have already won mentally. So, what we can do is break the illusion by naming the truth. As I just mentioned a few minutes ago, predators tend to thrive in secrecy. So when we name them and call out their deceptions, we disrupt their influence and we strip them of the ability to manipulate while they hide in the shadows, while they manipulate in the shadows, right? So when you call something out by its true name,
Mhm,
and
mhm.
this brings me to the law of names that says when you know the name of a thing, when you know the name of
Yes.
an entity, you have full power and control over it. So when you call something or someone out by their true name, you strip away their power and their ability to hide. So exposing
Mhm.
deception forces it into the light, which then leads to shattering the illusions and breaking that spiritual manipulation. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'm so happy that you brought up names because that was another one on my list is especially when you speak their name,
Right.
because you can tell the story of what happened to you and then you don't mention the person's name and that really I think that does another disservice to people,
Hmm.
because they know who you're talking about. But when you do speak the name, you can either empower something by speaking its name or disempower something by
Right.
speaking its name, and that is a universal law, and it is a law that we use in the occult and in the metaphysical world well, when you call out your attacker, if you've been attacked by someone or assaulted by someone, when
Hmm.
you call out that attacker's name, you point them out. Guess what? They probably are going to get arrested. They're probably going to go do some jail time. You get them off the street, so
Yeah.
they can't do anything to anybody else. So
Exactly. Yeah.
very, very important. So happy that you brought that up.
Hmm.
Um, I want to talk about too the energetic and psychological effects of remaining silent.
Hmm.
Um, I can speak from experience, when I was going through those witch wars and those spiritual attacks and things like that. It was my choice to remain silent about it because I just didn't want to create more drama and, I
Hmm.
kind of just wanted to go through what I needed to go through and move forward. But after I came under the effects of those attacks, me staying silent was starting to kind of, I wouldn't say wear on me physically. It was more of a knowing, it was like a nudge, like my spirit just kept saying, it's time for you to talk about this. It's time for you to bring it out. It's time for you to open up about it and
Yeah.
tell people not only what happened, because I think some people know what happened. I did talk a little bit about it, but not only what happened, who was responsible for it. And it was something about me not saying anything and what I kept seeing when I wasn't saying anything. I kept seeing um, more evidence of debauchery, more evidence of, while this person is still doing this, this person is still acting this way. And
Hmm.
hurting so many other people. And so for me, it was disheartening. I settled in my body because I was being silent about something that people needed to know. And the moment we both decided to open our mouths and say something, oh my goodness, the outpouring of the amount of people who continue to hit us up to this day in our
Yeah.
inboxes, and messaging us and things like that, are calling us and telling us that they've also had issues with this person, on this particular group. And even some people are talking about other groups and other people that they have had, experiences with, that, some sort of attack.
Right.
So it takes a toll on you when you don't say anything, energetically and psychologically. Now, for me, it was just kind of a nagging feeling, like, okay, I need to say something. I need to say something. But for other people, some of those, I guess, symptoms could look like headaches, back aches, neck aches, pains,
Hmm.
sleepless nights, bad dreams. Maybe your eating is off, or you might actually get physically ill because you are silencing yourself. And you'll usually notice it in the chest and throat chakra area is where you're most affected. And that's where I had a lot of my my issues, was in my chest and my throat and my respiratory
Right.
system.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Um, and you know what? I'm glad you spoke out when you did that live, because I made up my mind. I had decided that I was going to stay silent because I didn't want to stir up drama and be seen in a
Yeah.
negative light, because I know me. When I go off, I go off. It takes a lot for me to go off, but when I go off and then I regret it later. And I didn't want
Right, right, right,
to
right.
do that because, we both have a public image. We both have a brand that we work really, really hard to build. And it's just
Mhm.
important that we just maintain that poised and polished image. But when I saw that you went live and you called this person out by their name and shared your story on what you were experiencing, I was like, you know what? I'm next.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad that you did it. I'm so glad I did it. I'm glad a few other people did it as well,
Mhm,
because
mhm.
for me, my personal experience is it was so liberating, and it felt like my power went up a few notches as well.
Yes.
So, and my protections as well.
Mhm, mhm.
So yeah, I'm glad you did that. And that goes back to what I said earlier about, when you speak out, you set so many people free.
Yeah.
Those that have been sitting in silence and suffering in silence for a very long time, you set a lot of people free because they realize, oh, wow, it's not just me. I'm not in this alone. And then they're able to muster up the courage to speak out and share their stories while also breaking the spells and strengthening their protections and warding off the attacks. So,
Yeah. Absolutely. 100%. I think a
yeah,
lot, and I'm glad you said that, because I feel like a lot of people um avoid talking about it and speaking out for fear of attack, for fear of not being protected, and for fear of something bad happening. My thing is this: it can't be worse than what you already endured. You know what I
that's
mean?
true.
It just, if you survived whatever happened to you, the only thing speaking out is going to do is help you heal a little bit more. And I feel like that was, speaking out for me was like the cap, the lid on the healing. Like, okay, now you've done it. Now you have totally um you severe, you totally like capped this thing off,
Hmm.
and you broke the spell, like you said earlier, you broke the spell
Hmm.
because now you've spoken out. So I just want to tell people that it's you're like Livette said, your protections are amplified, your power is amplified, you are you have more clarity. It's just really empowering to do it.
Yeah, definitely empowering. All right. So the second hermetic principle that can be utilized to protect yourself, disempower your predator is the law of correspondence. As
Mm,
above, so below, right? So we know that patterns repeat in all aspects of life, spiritually, mentally, and physically. So if you feel like you may be under a spiritual attack, then there's going to be a physical manifestation. So this can show up in many forms, through toxic people, toxic relationships, being treated unfairly, money issues, so on and so forth. But when you address it at all levels, you're able to, again, break the spell and disempower it and also your predator. So you want to expose them in every realm. Spiritually, cleanse your energy, cut your ties, protect yourself, right? Then mentally,
yep.
you want to reclaim your story and reject any false narratives that have been projected onto you and onto the public so that the public can look at you in an unfavorable way. And then
Hmm.
physically, again, you want to speak out, take legal action if needed, if necessary. Don't be afraid to reach out to a lawyer, let them know what the situation is, state your case, and move forward. And also
Hmm.
document everything. You know, I'm the queen of receipts, baby. Document it all.
Okay.
Screen
Yes.
screenshots, um, screen recordings, any and all forms of documentation. Document everything. So
Yeah.
that's just the gist of how you can utilize the law of correspondence to empower yourself while disempowering your predator.
Hmm.
Yeah.
100%. 100%.
Hmm.
Nothing like them receipts. Ain't nothing like a good, juicy receipt
Right.
to shut somebody all the way down. Ooh, Lordy.
Right.
Um, okay. um, so I want to also talk about how your silence is an energetic contract or agreement
Hmm.
with your oppressor, right? And it can
Mm.
reinforce the oppression. So your silence is actually agreeing with what's happened to you. So you're taking a silent oath to your oppressor, to your attacker, that whatever you did to me stays between you and me. And no one, you don't ever have to pay the cost for it. You don't ever have to listen to somebody else, question you about it. We're just gonna keep that under wraps. That's what you are doing on an energetic level. You have signed an agreement, a contract to keep your oppressor safe. Now, this is in no way shaming or blaming anyone who decides to stay quiet. That is your prerogative. This is for people who have been feeling the nudge. They've been feeling like I need to say something, but I'm
Hmm.
scared. Or I don't want to start something. I just want to live my life peacefully and quietly. Like I wanted to do the same thing,
Right.
right?
Right.
But energetically, I was agreeing with this person and their minions and saying, it's okay what you all did. I'm just going to move on with my life and be the bigger person and let the universe handle it and all of that stuff. Well, me saying something is the universe handling it. We are not separate from the universe. You are the universe. You
Right.
are the universe. Your subconscious mind is a fractal of the universe.
Hmm.
So there's no separation there. So I am the hand that needs to turn the wheel by opening my mouth and ripping up that contract and tearing up that agreement and saying, nah, you don't get to get away with this. You're going to hear my story. Others are going to hear it, especially if you've been publicly, if you've gone through any type of public humiliation rituals, which is what both Lavette and I endure, and many others. Um, if that person is doing it publicly and they have no problem with dragging your name through the mud, then you should have no problem with publicly announcing that they were the ones responsible for what you went through.
All facts. Yes.
Yep.
Yes. I love that. All right.
Hmm.
So moving into the third hermetic principle. Okay. It's the law of vibration. This one is very, very powerful. Okay. Everything has a frequency. So we know that our energy dictates what we attract and what we repel. So you
Hmm.
can literally, if we can attune ourselves to attract who we are, what we are, and the things that we desire, then we can also attune ourselves to repel all of the things that we are not in agreement with,
Yes, indeed.
right?
Yes.
We know that predators, they tend to operate at low frequencies, such as shame, secrecy, and
Hmm.
also an obsessive need to control. But when we step into truth by speaking our truth and being courageous enough to speak our truth, we vibrate on a high frequency, which is also in opposition to the frequency that our predators are operating on.
Yep.
So by speaking out, what we do is we force them into the light publicly, shining the light on them. And this is
Hmm.
where they lose their grip. So speak your truth with confidence, even if you feel unshaky at first. But anytime we step into a zone that's uncomfortable or new, of course, sometimes we'll be a little nervous. But even with that, always remain rooted in your confidence. Most importantly, do not match their energy. Why?
Right.
Because this helps you to stay clear, stand in clarity and in your power, not fear or anger. Because fear and anger, depending on how you use it, but for the most part, fear and anger are lower vibrations, which keep you open and susceptible to further attacks.
Hmm.
And then also understand that exposure is their greatest fear. They don't want to be exposed. They
Right.
don't want to be called out. So again, by calling them out and exposing them, you take your power back and you disempower them. What are your thoughts on that, Sharon?
Oh, I 100% agree.
Yeah.
100%. Absolutely. It shifts the energy.
Right.
It basically just it turns that wheel, because especially if you've been quiet for a long time and they think that they're just getting away with it,
Mm-hmm.
like homegirl she kept talking smack for years about us and we weren't saying anything, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
But she kept talking smack because she felt like she could. She kept bringing our names up and trying to drag us through the mud and things like that. And because we were quiet, um, that gave her the courage to keep on saying whatever she was saying and doing whatever she was doing and still throw attacks once or twice a year. You know how that goes.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Um, but the moment we started speaking out, in integrity, with confidence, telling the truth, having receipts, not backing down at all,
Mm-hmm.
that totally disrupted everything. That disrupted all of the negative forces and the low frequency energy vibrationally, and it disrupts stuff. It shakes things up. And I feel like that was like a shaking, like shaking how how you shake a rug out
Mm-hmm.
and all the
Yeah.
dust and the dust bunnies start falling out. You know what I mean? I feel like
Right.
that's what it was. We were just shaking that rug out and then that disruption, that energetic or vibrational disruption, it caused more people to come forward and say, well, wait a minute, I'm happy you speaking out because that happened to me and this happened to me and this happened to me. And people are still coming out. We just
Yeah.
saw that recently.
Yeah.
People are still coming out about it. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that 100%. Um,
Mm-hmm.
let's talk about the concept of breaking spells through acknowledgement and speaking,
Yeah.
because this is a huge, huge, huge one, right? And I feel like
Hmm.
this falls in line in what you just talked about the law of vibration, right?
Right.
Um, this would be for anyone, because when we say spells, spells don't mean always, it doesn't just apply to people who practice magic or people who are standing over children and stirring it and chanting into it with the intention of causing harm to someone, right? A spell can simply be someone speaking ill over your name. Somebody, you're on social media, you have a social media platform, somebody's looking at you, you know, with the ugly eye, with the evil eye.
Hmm.
It can be simple as that, you know, like, "This girl thinks she like this, she gets on my nerves, like, I hope she lose her channel," you know what I mean? Things like that. It could be
Right.
that's a spell.
Hmm.
So, um, part of acknowledging what has happened to you and then speaking out about it and naming the person breaks that spell. Like, when I spoke out about what was going on with me and I mentioned that person's name, it was like something like a hammer had like shattered the last little casing of any type of spell work that was done by her or someone else, or even by me, for believing and buying into it for so long. It's really, it broke a spell. It shattered it to pieces, and I don't even feel the presence of that entity or that energy anymore
Hmm.
since having done that. So I think that that's something else for people to keep in mind. Like, if you are still feeling, because you may not be feeling the physical effects of quote unquote the spell or the thing that happened to you,
Hmm.
but every now and again you may still think about it, or it may make you a little angry sometimes, right?
Hmm.
Residual spell work. So breaking that energetically by speaking out is another reason why it's important to do that.
Yes, I totally agree. All right, so the fourth hermetic principle that can be utilized is the law of polarity. We know that everything has its opposites. We have darkness and light,
Mhm.
control and freedom, and we also have fear and courage, right? These are just some examples. So, if there's any type of suppressing you, keeping you silent, any type of suppression or oppression that exists, the opposite would be liberation.
Mhm.
But we must choose to step into our power. So if you feel like you're being silenced, speak louder. If they attempt to rewrite your story by creating their own narratives that serves their own personal agendas, then what you do is reclaim your truth with facts. That's why it's
Mhm.
important to document every single thing. So basically, what I'm saying is flip the script on them.
Mhm.
If they try to ruin your reputation, then expose their lies with truth and proof. If they're trying to silence you, amplify your message, amplify your voice. So, utilizing the law of polarity is simply flipping the script, making sure that you stay on a supported frequency, one of love, one of enlightenment, one of joy,
Mhm.
right? And that's very important because we don't want our energy body, our energetic body to be pierced. Right.
That's
So
right.
we have to
Right.
make sure that's why it's important for us to regulate our emotions. And I can say this because that live that I did, I said, make sure you stay calm, make sure you stay calm. And I went the
Mhm.
fuck off. But I knew the importance
You needed
of,
to do that, though. You had to do that.
yeah,
And
I
this is the
did.
other thing. This is the other thing too. I feel like anger and rage gets a really bad rap, but honestly, anger and rage are actually very powerful manifestation tools to use
Hmm.
when you when you actually alchemize the energy, which is what
Right.
I think what I feel you did. You alchemized that energy. You felt empowered after that. You were like, oh my God, I went off. But at the same time, look at all of the things that you've manifested since then,
Yeah, that
all the
yeah,
good stuff that you've manifested since then. So,
yeah,
if you, it's one thing to just be enraged and angry and you don't do anything with the energy, but when you do something with the energy,
yeah.
it's actually not a waste, and it's a pretty good thing, so I would say that you did a pretty good job at alchemizing and transmuting all of that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. And
Yeah.
that's why I said earlier, just being mindful of the emotional state you're in. You don't want to be in a state of anger and fear, depending on how you use it. So when we're
Mhm.
intentional, like, yes, I'm mad right now, so I'm going to use this energy to manifest a new car.
Right.
You know
Exactly,
what I mean?
exactly.
Instead of just being
Yes.
fearful and hiding and embracing the fear, right? That's putting you in a different
Mhm.
space. So, yeah,
Absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
And so that brings me to the healing power, right? The healing that happens when we speak the truth,
yeah.
when we tell our stories, when we break the spell by mentioning names. I think it's so important to mention names. I know that it's scary to do that, but you know what? If you're going to talk about it, just say somebody, just say the name,
Mhm,
like just say the name. Because if it's the
mhm.
truth and they know it's the truth, 9 times out of 10, they are not going to try to come and take any type of legal action against you, because that means that they now have to tell their part, and it's
Right.
really hard to tell your part of a story when you are the one of the main characters and you're the antagonist and
Mm,
you're the one that started a lot of the stuff. Is really hard, and eventually your lies are going to shine through. So therefore you don't have to be afraid that if I mention this person's name, all of this, as long as you're telling the truth. And it's like Levette said, as long as you have some receipts
mhm.
and you're telling the truth, or you at least got a couple of people to say, yeah, she's right, she's telling the truth.
Right.
um but that emotional healing that comes from truth telling is unmatched. That's another part of breaking the spell. Um you release your stored traumas. So sometimes when we go through some sort of attack, some people have been going through attacks their entire lives, right?
Yeah.
um And so there's a lot of trauma and they've never talked about it. And that stored trauma, it usually lives in your pelvic region. That's where we usually keep all of our trauma. And it doesn't even need to be sexual trauma either. Yeah, it could
Mhm.
be any kind of trauma. We usually hold it in that region. Um, so when you talk about it, what you're doing is you're breaking up the energy and you're getting that energy moving,
Mhm.
because now the energy can flow out and you learn how to move energy and manipulate energy and work with energy. You can really do some deep, deep healing along with you speaking out. Speaking out alone is enough, really, it is. But if you are into, you know, doing deeper work, you understand the power of breaking that energy up, that traumatic energy, that energy that stays stuck in the body, that can cause weight gain. It can cause different types of ailments. It can cause heart problems.
Yeah.
um it can cause aneurysms, high blood pressure. When you have this energy just stuck in your body and you're not moving it, you're not talking about it, you're not and moving it. I don't mean going to work out, because some people, that's how they feel like they do it, and that's okay. You can do that too. That is an external support system for your trauma. But
Right.
you really need to do deep energy work, and at the very least, open your mouth and talk about it, at the very least.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. I think that just that little piece right there is going to help so many people,
Mm-hmm.
because weight gain is not always attributed to poor eating habits. You have some people that may eat once a day or they eat very healthy, but for some reason they continue to gain weight.
Yeah.
So that is going to put a lot of things into perspective for people. And then when you said moving the energy and healing yourself, I notice every single time I perform a Reiki session on
Mm-hmm.
myself, I release like
Yes. Yes.
fluids, you know,
Yes.
fluids and solids from my body.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? I'm not
Mm-hmm.
trying to be disgusting, but I release, especially when especially when
Mm-hmm.
I do my Reiki baths. OMG.
Yes.
Yes. So that makes a lot of sense. So thank you for
Mm-hmm.
sharing that. That's gonna
Yes.
set a lot of people free.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. And you all, I don't know if you're offering your Reiki services or not, honey, but if y'all need some Reiki services, please contact Lavette because she is thebomb.com. She helped
Well,
me
thank you.
through a very tough time and it stopped like immediately. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Anytime. All right. So let's move on to our fifth law, the law of rhythm. Everything has cycles. So again, going back to what we were just discussing with healing, right? We have attacks, and then you heal, and
Mhm.
then you expose, speaking your truth, right? That's like the tail end of the healing process. So
Mhm.
attacks, healing, exposure. That's the cycle, right? In alignment with what we're discussing tonight. So
Yeah.
if you feel like you're under attack, first know that it will pass. As the saying goes, this too shall pass. But also, when we're in it, it feels like it's never ending. But we just keep in mind that nothing lasts always. It will pass. So while you're going through it, make sure you stay grounded and keep your emotions regulated. Do not react impulsively. Now, this is
Mhm.
this is like kind of utilizing the art of war, some of those strategies.
Mhm.
Know that timing is everything. So just pay attention to how that pendulum is swinging so you'll know when the right time approaches so that you can attack, right? But from a more
Yep.
elevated space. And this also goes into what you say often, Shara. The energy supports speaking out.
Yeah.
So it's like that pendulum is in a place right now where the energy supports speaking out. So you're going to be divinely protected.
Mhm.
Your message and your voice will be heard and amplified, right? Because when waiting for the right moment ensures maximum impact. So how we can kind of leverage this natural rhythm of exposure is knowing that our predators and the deceivers, they will eventually have their day,
Oh yeah.
period. And this brings me to karma. Karma is not negative, nor is it positive. It is a mechanism that restores balance, period.
Mhm.
It is a sub law to reciprocity.
Mhm.
You give what you get. If you give out bullshit, that's what you get back. If you
Yep.
give out love, truth, and being honorable, that's what you get back. Right? So we know that eventually they will have their day. So as the momentum is building, add your voice to the wave. Stay strategic, not emotional,
Mhm.
and let timing work in your favor. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, I love that. I love that. I mean, when we think about, you know, practicing alchemy or any type of energetic work, or magic, so to speak, right? When we think
Mm,
about that, we usually have to wait for the conditions to be in a certain way, right? The moon, the
yeah.
planetary alignments, the planetary hours, whatever, time of day, whatever it is, right? So that makes perfect sense to me that this is just like any other strategic move you're going to make, right? You don't just go, you just don't go out and just buy a house whenever, right? You're buying the
Mhm.
house when the market is right, when when it's a buyer's market,
Right.
um, so it's just like with anything else, you're gonna wait for the best time to do it. And I think that is being tapped in energetically to just know intuitively when that is. And like you said, also to keep your eyes open and your ears open and just, you know, wait to see when you get those nudges or some what we have experienced, what we keep is
Yeah.
that it just comes to us, right? The information comes to us. We ain't looking for it. We not keeping eyes on nothing. And nobody has time for that.
Right.
But it comes to us, right? It comes to us at the right time. It's just like, here you go. Here's
Right.
something else for you to look at. It's like, oh, okay, I wasn't even paying attention to this, but
Right.
thanks.
Right.
So sometimes the opportunity just falls in your lap. And if it's meant for you to pick up on it, you're gonna see it. You're gonna see it. So I agree with that 100%.
Okay. Nice. All
Um,
right. Go ahead. Go ahead.
oh yeah, really quickly, I just want to, because I know we're almost at time. God, the time just flew by. Okay. Um, really quickly, I just wanted to talk about real quick how our personal healing contributes to the collective healing, right? So when
Mhm.
one person does something that is kind of like, oh wow, like unexpected, so to speak, and then it
Yeah.
heals them, what happens is the collective starts to latch on to that energy, and they see enough of it happening. That's why we have so many exposures going on right now, because people are healing collectively, right? That's what's going on right now. That's why we see all of these exposures. We see people speaking out and telling their stories, speaking their truth, because my healing is going to be a effect throughout the people on my timeline, right? The people in
Right.
my life, on my virtual timeline, right? In my neighborhood or what have you, because I've decided I'm going to do this thing and heal. I'm sending out the ripple effect, the invisible signal that, okay, everybody, if you need to, now's the time to do it. You know what I mean? So that's the other thing. You get to be like the navigator of this too,
Mhm.
or not just for yourself, but you're also kind of, energetically tapping the shoulders of other people who may need to do this as well.
Yes. I love that. And that made me think about, you more than me, you have people reaching out to you every week
Yeah.
and,
Yep.
sharing their stories. And we're like, wow, yet another person.
Yep. Yep.
And, but that makes a lot of sense because you blaze that trail, you kind of, carved out that energetic path. And because these people that are gravitating to you and they feel comfortable enough to let you know what they're going through and what they've been experiencing, um, they're on your timeline. They're on your timeline. So it was like, because you kind of open that door and you have that open door policy, so many people feel comfortable with reaching out to you and just, letting you know what they've been dealing with. So I love that. I
Yeah.
love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yep.
All right. So moving on to the sixth hermetic principle, the law of cause and effect. I love this one because every
Ooh,
action has
love
a
that one.
reaction.
Every action got a reaction, honey. Yes.
Every action has a reaction. And it's like once you keep that in mind, you become more thoughtful, you become more strategic, you become more mindful about the actions that you take and being clear about what the reaction is going to be. So I really, really love this one. I utilize this in a lot of, different forms of work that I do.
Yes.
Um, so we could, because we know that speaking out, and you mentioned this earlier, speaking out forces a shift,
Hmm.
right? The moment that we refuse to be silent, we create change. We shift the trajectory, and we shift the narrative. Why? Because our voice is power. The
Yes, it
moment that we
is.
decide to expose the deception, the energy is going to shift in our favor. So you see that the action, choosing to expose the deception, and the reaction, shifting the energy in our favor,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yep.
Now, most of these predators, they rely on deception. So when we shine light on the truth, we then position ourselves to weaken their control.
Yeah.
So, again, how can we utilize this law? Document everything. That's very important. So,
Mm-hmm.
keeping your screenshots, keeping your evidence, building up your dossier of all of your documentation, making sure that we stick to the facts, not emotions, using truth and proof, not personal attacks.
Mm-hmm.
Choosing the right platform is also important, right? Some predators, they like to retaliate. So we speak where we're the most safe.
Right.
And then also finding allies. We've been talking about this, throughout the episode, finding allies. If
Mm-hmm.
others have been harmed, then uniting with their voices. And that's something that you and I, we definitely did. You and I and a few other people.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Big time. I agree with that
Mhm.
100%. Yep.
Yeah.
Very important. Um, those are ways that everything that you just said would be, categorized under practical steps for you to safely and effectively speak out, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
you just want to make sure, like Lisa said, you just want to make sure you have all your stuff ready, all your ducks in a row. Little research, to make sure that what you're saying is not going to trigger some sort of legal action, right?
Mm-hmm.
um, do your research and just be strategic about the movement. That's it. Be strategic about when you're going to do it, what you're going to say, how you're going to respond to backlash. Because I mean, we didn't get that much because
Yeah.
But anyway,
They know who to fuck with.
know who to fuck with and when to
Right.
shut they traps, honey. Trust me. Okay. Uh, but in the event you get backlash, right? In the event you get people, especially when you're dealing with somebody that has like kind of a cult following,
Mm-hmm.
um, if sometimes their cult minions will try to make you feel bad and try to degrade you and try to break you down, you have to be ready for that. And then you have to teach yourself, okay, how am I going to deal with
Yeah.
this? If people come at me this way, how am I going to deal with it? Am I going to throw up some energetic protections around me and have one phrase that I repeat? You know what I mean? To
Mm-hmm.
kind of reactivate that protection over me and to shut them down, make it so that they just more like you have to really use this is your mentalism. This is when your mentalism comes into play of
Mm-hmm.
how you're going to handle any backlash, judgments, or further attacks at that. You really have to study your opponent, study your attacker, figure out how because they have a pattern.
Yeah.
They have a pattern. They have a pattern of how they attack, when they attack. So just, it is like what did you say? What is it? The art of war?
Yeah. The art of war.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it is the art of war. So
Like
I
literally, right?
need to actually read that book. I don't think I've ever read it, but I need to read that book.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it does take some um strategy and just don't do it. Don't be in a super emotional state when you do it. Even
Yeah.
if you get angry, that's fine, but always have your plan intact. Even if you go off the script a little bit, it's okay. Just have your plan all ready to go.
Yeah. I agree. Always staying 2 steps ahead.
Oh, always got to.
Well,
Be
not 2 steps, 10 steps.
10 steps ahead. Right.
Right.
Shoot.
All right. So moving into our seventh and final hermetic principle. This one is a very powerful one. The law of gender.
Mm.
Learning how to balance our masculine and feminine energy. So
Hmm.
if we lean too heavily into our feminine energy, we become too passive. Therefore, we remain a victim, right?
Right.
Or if
Right.
we lean too heavily into our masculine energy and we become too aggressive, then we risk reckless exposure. So balance is key. So
Hmm.
how we can utilize this particular principle is use your masculine energy to take bold action. Speak up for yourself, defend yourself, set boundaries, and expose what is happening to you. Of
Yeah.
course, when the time is right for you, you'll know when the time is right. But when you get ready to speak up and show your face and utilize your voice, always position yourself to defend yourself and protect yourself and set clear boundaries and let people know don't fuck with me, period. Right? But then you want to balance it out with your feminine energy by navigating intuitively, being strategic, like we just said, staying ahead of your predators, remaining strategic, and always, always, always protect yourself in all aspects. So I really love using that particular principle, the law of gender, um, and in so many ways. But in this case, it's very powerful. Uh oh. You should. Are you there, Cheryl? You were going in and out. I can't hear you now. All right. So I see we have two people tuned in right now. Unfortunately, Shara seems to be having audio issues. Of course she is, because we're breaking the spell, right? Opposing energies do not want this information out to the public. So I am going to go on a 60-second break and we'll be right back. All right, I stopped it. Are you back?
I'm back. Yeah. I don't know what
Okay.
happened.
Yeah. When you were speaking earlier,
Uh huh.
there were several times you kept going in and out, in and out, in and out. So I didn't know if it was StreamYard or maybe something going on your end.
Okay. Okay.
And yeah, but you're back. You're
I'm
back.
back. I'm back. I don't know what was going on. But see, that's what happens when you're speaking truth and that energy don't want you to talk about it. It's
Mhm.
like y'all giving up too much, giving up the goods. Stop, shut up.
Right.
That's all that
Right.
is. That's all that.
Hmm. Yeah. So I basically closed out the law of gender. I'm not sure if you heard, but balancing your masculine energy, of course, by defending yourself, setting those boundaries and just letting folks know don't play with you. And you want to balance that out with the feminine energy by navigating intuitively, strategically, staying ahead, like we said a few minutes ago, and always, always protecting yourself.
Yes.
Yeah.
100%. I love that because at first I was like, "Oh, how's the law of gender going to play into this?" But I like that.
Right.
I
Right.
like I like that a lot. The balancing act. I love that. Yes,
Hmm.
indeed. Yeah, well,
Yeah.
I hope that this has been helpful for you guys out there who might be going through this type of stuff or have gone through it and you have been thinking about or feeling like you should speak out, or maybe you are in the throes of speaking out, and you're going through some attacks or backlash or what have you. So hopefully this has been helpful for anybody out there that may need it.
Yes. So, do you want to kind of segue into closing out, or do you want to talk a little bit about what we were seeing over the last couple of days?
Yeah, we can. We can absolutely talk about what we've been seeing over the last couple days. Which one? Because there's so much that we've been seeing. So much going on, Lord.
Oh, oh, the bullshit we were tuned into last night.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was crazy. Without saying too much about it, it's interesting to me how much people just still undersell.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
like, wow, these people's heads are really wrapped up. And it really just brings me back to like that cultish, it's a cult like feeling around it. You know what I mean? Like, because cult leaders, they have people who will fight for them and stand up for them, and even when they're not present. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Right.
It was just giving me straight up cult vibes. And I'm like, yo, the fact that people are like 5 and 8 and 10 years deep into this stuff and they are
Hmm.
not able to pull out of it. It's just really interesting to me how people are just fighting so hard for this person. And it's like, you can't see a pattern? Like, this is like number what, 20? The person that's speaking out, you know what I mean? Like, this is number 20. And I don't know their path. I mean, their past. I don't know anything about the person who was talking last night. I don't know anything about him. I don't know. I can't speak on his behalf or any of that, but I'm just
Yeah.
saying what was happening in the comments section, Shaft. I
Right.
was like, oh my God. It was like making me want to throw up, honestly,
Yeah.
because of how first of all, how antagonistic it was,
Hmm.
like I could clearly see they were trying to like pierce his veil on purpose,
Hmm.
like that's what's going on. You're trying to pierce this man's veil because you don't like that he's talking about your boo thing or whatever.
Right.
Um,
Right.
yeah, it's just astounding. It's astounding to me the amount of trickery that people continue to fall for, and that we can clearly see that the glamours are still working.
Yeah. It's definitely working for a lot of those people that have been following her in a cult like way, because the same person that started antagonizing him, I don't know if you saw the particular comment she made, but she said, to be honest, I don't care if she mollywopped you in your head with a bag of coins.
Mm, mm, mm.
And so basically, you're saying you don't care if she is clearly in the wrong.
Right.
You're still going to support her. And that was evidence
Yeah.
that the glamours are still working.
Yeah. Big
But
time.
they're also being shattered slowly but surely. They're also being shattered because a lot of people are being liberated. But the ones that are still under the glamours they're nuts. They are absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
It's like, whoa. But guess what? Keep going hard. Keep going hard for this person,
Mhm.
because someday you'll be next in line. You'll get your turn,
Oh my
because no
God.
one is
Yes.
safe.
No
No
one
one
is
is
safe.
safe. No
Nobody's
one is
safe.
safe. There's
No.
no alliance. There's no allegiance. There's no loyalty. No
Nope.
one is safe. And as soon as she decides that you need to be fooled because she's running out of resources,
Yeah.
bitch, you'll be up on the chopping block. Another thing that pissed me off too, you hoes are so weak.
Yeah.
You will sit there and you will see this person rant and rave and act like a complete gutter rat.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll be in the comments hooting and hollering,
Touching and
high-fiving,
agreeing.
touching and
Mm-hmm.
agreeing. But as soon as the person that she denigrated, because that word was being used so much last night, denigration. I'm like, find another word, you
Right.
know. But as soon as the victim that she attacked first is part of her ceremonies and rituals. As soon
Mm-hmm.
as they decide to speak out, now all of a sudden you want to be mature and politically correct and say
Mm-hmm.
there's a better way to handle this. You could have kept it private. First of all, keep that same energy.
Right.
You do not get to make executive decisions in anyone's life on how they decide to posture and position themselves by speaking their truth and telling their stories.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like, what the fuck is wrong with these
Especially,
hoes?
especially when you support the way she blasts people, because one of their arguments was that you should have done this in private. Why? That's what I said before. Like, if they go public about you and put you on blast, you need to go public too. Because
Exactly.
clearly she has created this arena, right? She's
Mm,
created this arena where everything has to be discussed in a public forum. She goes
right.
live, she cusses, she rants, she raves, she puts people down, she puts people's business out there,
Mhm.
people who have paid her for their services, she puts their business out there. So why not? If I'm being attacked, why would I try to go behind the scenes and fix it with her when, one, she usually is not willing to do that.
Mhm.
Two, she's not going to be the first one to approach you to address something like an adult, right?
Right.
And she goes straight to the jugular unless there's something to hide. So she may not go public yet because there's something to hide. So
Exactly.
she's having problems with somebody behind the scenes, right? And
Mhm.
she got something to hide because she knows that, you need to pony up whatever it is or cough up whatever it is you owe, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
She's probably not going to go live and talk about that publicly. But see, people are so blinded. They're so blinded that they're not reading between the lines. They're not hearing or seeing the pattern of everybody who has spoken out. We're saying the same thing.
The same things.
I was gaslighted. I was built up to be torn down.
Mhm.
I was promised this and this and that, and then those things never happened. It's the
Mhm.
same rhetoric. It's the same story over and over and over again. There's a pattern, and it's a pattern because this particular person is a small child that is in pain, who has created an arena for herself where she postures that she has a lot of power. She postures like she's powerful. It's a
Mhm.
difference between real power, because I've seen real power, okay,
Right.
versus somebody who's posturing, somebody who is putting on an act, somebody who is pretending to be powerful. It's a
Mhm.
big damn difference. And if you've never been around real power, you're going to think that what she's displaying is real. So those people are constantly under a spell. And if they don't
Mhm.
think they somewhere on one of her altars, baby, to keep them where they at, they are fools.
Exactly.
They are fools. And I'll tell each and every last one of them, if you ever want to hear me say it to your face, you's a fool.
Mhm. Yeah. And another thing I kept seeing too is, oh, so you're just going to speak out and try to defame her business and her reputation. She's well known in the spiritual community. Why should anyone have any cares about her business when she doesn't care about her business?
Mm-hmm.
She
Exactly.
doesn't. She doesn't, because going live and acting out and raging in the way that she does, that's not a good look for someone that calls themselves a business mogul.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't care about her business and her brand, but the thing about it is because she feels like whatever work she is doing is so potent and so powerful that everyone will oversee it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then what we're seeing right now is the breakdown of that,
Hmm.
because you can only do that for so long. That is
Right.
not, it's not the way to go. You know, you need to be constantly checking yourself and healing yourself. If you are calling yourself a healer, a mentor, a coach, something, if you're holding space for other people and you need to be that beacon of light and guidance for another person, there are times when, yes, you're going to feel, you know, maybe you feel inadequate. Maybe you feel like, oh man, I really don't know what I'm doing right now. Maybe you feel a little jealousy or whatever. You
Hmm.
need to go and sit and do your work. Sometimes you need to pull all the way back and do no work and say, y'all, my calendar is closed for a month.
Right.
You know what I mean? So that you can take a look at what it is that is coming up for you and actually work through it. That is the sign of real power. False power is someone who claims that they got it all underneath control, they got it all under control, they've healed everything,
Hmm.
and then they fall back on to defend themselves. They always fall back on their money. That's all you have, is to fall back on
Right.
how much money you get. That's it. You don't talk about how you've healed this part of you. You don't talk about how you're becoming mature, emotionally mature person. You don't fess up to any of the stuff that you've done, to all of these people who are coming out and talking about what they've experienced with you.
Hmm.
That's not real power. That's not real
Hmm.
power. Real power knows when to pull back and recharge itself. Everything needs to be recharged. Everything needs a break. Everyone needs a break. You know,
Yeah.
even robots and computers need to be, turned off and be
Rebooted
like,
every night. Right.
and rebooted. And like, I need a
Right.
break. I need to stand
Hmm.
back from this for a minute. And the
Hmm.
fact that you don't do that regularly enough, and even if you do pull back, what inner work are you doing? What are you really healing? Because we're seeing the same performance over and over and over again.
Hmm.
Nothing's changed.
Yeah. And to piggyback off of what you said when you mentioned the only thing that you kind of resort to is money. I have money. I have money. Well, if you got
Mhm.
so much money, pay that man his money back.
Yeah, for real.
Pay him his money back
Yeah.
and pay off those tax liens. Multi-millionaire. I had to be petty for a moment. I had to.
Listen, listen, listen. I'm telling you, like, pay it off, baby. Just pay it off.
Right.
Just pay
Like,
it
how
off.
are you going to enter into a business contractual agreement, whether there was, and don't worry, we're tight-lipped on mentioning names, but don't worry, you an expose will be coming soon. But how are you going to, for you to be a business mogul and teaching other people how to build businesses? How are you going to enter into a business contractual agreement with someone? And
Mhm.
just because you were in your emotions and you took a comment that was made out of context, you decide to say all bets are off.
Yeah. That's not handling business in a in a very business-like fashion. You can't just walk away from your agreements because you had a disagreement.
Right.
Can't just do that. You cannot do that. I know so many people who got a lot of money, got real money.
Hmm.
They work with people they can't stand, right? But they do that because they understand the bottom line. Like, I can't stand this person right here, but
Hmm.
this motherfucker know how to make some money. You know what I mean? I'm gonna go ahead and work with them. You don't know
Right.
how many people, how many friends of mine that they're like, I can't stand this person, but it's something about they're brilliant at what they do. So we're going to
Hmm.
continue working with each other. You know, it pays off every time. I may
Right.
not go have dinner with them. I may not sit around them too long, but you know,
Yeah.
it's working out. So, you know, I think that's there's a lot of emotional immaturity with her.
Hmm.
And she has said that herself many times, you know, that she's
Hmm.
immature. I'm like, well, if you know that about yourself, sweetie, go do something about that. Like, stop bleeding that all over people and letting that be your excuse that I'm
Hmm.
immature, you know. And because if
Hmm.
it's just like, okay, I don't want an immature mentor. I want somebody who's gotten past those things that could potentially be roadblocks, not just for the mentor, but for the mentee, because that's what ends up happening. You know, like it's her emotional turmoil turns into huge obstacles for herself and for others, you know.
Right.
Um, and then instead of her just being honest about the fact that this is something that I created and I've sabotaged this relationship. Let me go and do some things within myself so that I don't continue doing this. She just keeps going and going and going,
Yeah.
you know. And I feel like right now we're starting to see the breakdown of all of that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Because, there were a few people, including this person who just recently shared his story, when they decided to speak out or just make it known, whether publicly or privately, that they were in the pipeline. I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
you,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, something's wrong here. You're the
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
You're the common denominator. You
Yeah.
know, yeah, it's just like, I don't know, but that's all I wanted to say. I just really wanted to talk about some of the things that we saw last night in that comment
Yeah.
section. And that's a part of the reason why so many people are afraid to speak out because of her minions, her
Mm-hmm.
cult following, being afraid that, okay, even if I don't publicly, because you're going to get some sort of backlash. Even if she
Oh
doesn't
yeah.
say anything publicly, she's definitely gonna be working on those altars. But even if I don't get any sort of backlash from this person, then I have to come up against her following. Man,
Yeah.
if you just take it, would just do a survey on who the following is. They're weak.
Very
They have
weak.
no power.
Very weak.
None.
They you say ain't none of them say nothing to us.
No, because they know better.
They know better. That's what I'm saying. But you said it earlier when we were going through the presentation
Hmm.
that you have to position yourself energetically to where somebody's like, I ain't gonna fuck with her. Like, even if I
Hmm.
feel away, I ain't saying nothing. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like, you really have to position yourself like that. And neither one of us walks around like we big and bad. No,
No.
it's just respect. Like, you can't help but respect who we are and how we carry ourselves. You can't help but respect it, you know. And that comes from, you know, our own way we present ourselves on our own, but it also comes with all of the protection and the energies that we have around us that we can't see. You
Yeah.
know, it's just like, and other people can feel it. You know what I mean? So if you walking around weak and apologizing all the time,
Yeah.
then you're gonna have people coming at you. But if you like, no, this is what it is, and anybody wants to ask me a question, like I gave my number out, like call me,
Hmm.
please, call me. And if
Hmm.
you're in my city, let's meet up.
Right.
If problem, like I'm for real, like if you here in my city, holla at me. Tell me I know where everything is in LA. So tell me where you want to meet up and have a conversation. You
Hmm.
know, but a lot of people won't do that, and they don't do that, and they don't even position themselves energetically that way. So they are targets for, you know, the minion backlash.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, and that's one of the things that I learned, like, honestly, when I came into this particular community, I had already embarked on my own healing journey.
Mhm.
I was kind of like doing my own thing with the little bit of information I was, able to obtain by reading certain books and attending certain classes and yoga sessions and things like that. And then shortly after that, that's when I kind of discovered this particular community. And then um, I think I shared my story before. Some of the contracts that I had, because we kind of rolled right into the height of the pandemic. So some of the contracts that I had, they were canceled. And that's when I decided to just start going live and building the Levette Men brand by teaching, business and branding and things like that. So when I entered the community and I was known as, at that time, the family brand educator, again, going back to me already being on my healing journey. So I was nice and I was
Yes.
kind
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I was
yeah,
passive, because I can be very confrontational. I can be very in your face, but I wanted to heal from that because I didn't get me anywhere.
yeah,
And because I came into the space with that energy, a lot of people thought I was something that they could fucking play with.
yeah.
And that was a part of the reason why I went off when I did that live, because that part of me that I unalived resurrected, like, hold on, what we doing?
Mhm. Okay.
You know what I
Like,
mean?
wait a minute, you woke me up, girl. What's
Right.
wrong? What's going
Right.
on?
Right. So I really just said all of that to say, when you're dealing, you have to read the room and you have to know what type of energies and entities and individuals you're dealing with. And
Mhm.
you can't be soft. I
No,
learned
you
that.
cannot.
Like you can't be soft.
No, you cannot be soft. No,
Yeah,
you
you
have
can't.
to
You
you
have to
have to
stand your ground.
gotta
And
stand your ground. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. That's a
Yeah.
form of protection. Powerful protection. Standing your ground, standing in your power and in your authority as well. and
Mhm.
and exerting your power and your authority by saying, I have the right to coexist in this realm too.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
how dare you to think that you're gonna light a candle or chant some words against me to take me up out this realm? You don't have power and authority over me.
Over me. That's right. That's right.
And that ties into mentalism as well. Really
Yeah.
believing that and etching that into your mind and mentally projecting that,
Yep,
right?
big time, big
Yeah,
time. Yeah, you have to believe it, and you have to feel it, like, believing it is not enough.
yeah,
You have to feel it, and that's why I said anger and rage is underrated because, you can make some shit happen when you're angry and when you're rageful, in rage,
yeah.
when you know how to tap into that power and command that whatever is happening right now is
Hmm.
done. It is done. Whatever attacks that are coming against me it's a wrap. It is done. I am taking my power back. And whatever else you want to do with it. I ain't gonna talk too much, but whatever
Yeah,
else you want to do with that, that energy, you get to do it because it's your energy, is your business, and it's you that are being attacked. It's you that needs to protect your energy and protect yourself and your mind. So,
yeah.
you have full authority to protect yourself, especially when somebody tells you that they about to do something to you.
Especially.
They're gonna tell you that they about to do X, Y, and Z to you, then baby, armor up,
Mm-hmm.
armor up, and let's go.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I am. So, like, let's do this. Then what you try and do? Because let's do it.
Yeah. Yeah. For a long time, when the attacks initiated back in 2022, I'll be honest, for a long time, I didn't fight back.
Mm-hmm.
I
Mm-hmm.
just, did certain work to ward it off of me. But as far as like launching those missiles back into that
Yeah.
territory, I didn't fight back. And it wasn't until one day Spirit was like, all right, so if you're walking down the street and a stranger walks up to you and slap you, what you gonna do? And I'm like, oh no, that motherfucker.
Right. Right. Right.
And Spirit was like, so what's the difference? And I was like, oh, okay.
Exactly.
All
Yeah.
right. All
Touche.
right.
Touche. Touche.
Touche. Touche. Right. Right. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did a reading with my ancestors, and I was using the what's that? The Hoodoo Tarot deck, and I forget the name of the card, but it's like a grandma holding two pew pews in her hand, like a pew pew in one hand
Uh-huh.
and a knife in another one.
Oh,
And it was like
yeah.
it's time for you to get look.
Right.
It's time. Let's go. It's go time.
Mhm.
It's time to let these people have it, And that's when I was like, all right, let's go.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
again, that goes back to that balancing, right?
Mhm.
That feminine and masculine, that light and dark
Yes.
energy, when to
Mhm.
tap in. You got to know when it's time to be love and light, and when it's time to be like, I'm going beneath hell. I'm going underneath the floor of hell.
Right.
So you just have to know that.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed, ma'am. Yes, indeed.
Yes, indeed. So, all in all, this was something that Shara and I wanted to do to encourage those of you that are suffering in silence. And for whatever reason, you may be a little afraid of speaking out because you don't want to experience the blowback or being ganged up on. But right now, as Shara always say, the energy supports speaking out. And
Mhm.
because the energy supports speaking out, you're going to automatically be cloaked in protection and amplification.
Yeah.
So, but of course, in your own time, when you feel ready to speak out. In the meantime, you can always reach out to me or even Cheryl
Mhm.
and, privately and, just have a conversation with us. And I think you would agree in whatever way we can assist you to help you while you're going through it. We'll be more than willing to assist you on that because from firsthand experience, we know what it's like.
Yeah.
And this is it's no joke. So with that, be well. I have nothing else to share. What about you, Share? Any last
I am
words?
I am good. Just a reminder that on Tuesday, that's going to mark our 10th episode. That went by really
Mhm.
fast, right?
It did. It did.
And so we're going to be taking a very short hiatus, and then we'll be back with our season 2 of the podcast. So,
Yes. Bigger
but we'll
and better. Bigger and
bigger and
better.
better. That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. That's right. So I'm happy to see that we have 96 subscribers right now, which
Yes,
is
we've been
really
growing.
good. Yeah, really,
Yeah.
really good.
We
So
would love for you all to engage with us and talk to us. Right now, we see that there's 2 people tuning in. If you haven't already, please hit the like button. Hit the like button because when you do that, YouTube says, oh, they want to see more of this content. So
right.
let's put them in a favorable position within the algorithm. So that will be greatly appreciated. I did this time. I remembered to drop the link in the comment. In the comment section. So at any time, especially when we come back with season 2, if you feel like you want to hop up on the panel with us, you're more than welcome to do so. If not, that's okay as well. You can always create an incognito page and privately, well, not privately, but anonymously engage with us.
Right.
We so welcome that and we would love that. So
Absolutely.
thank you for
Absolutely.
tuning in. Yeah.
Yeah, and please do feel free to share these videos as well. I know we drop good gems in these videos all the time that are helpful for people. So please feel free to go ahead and share it. All right.
All right. And with that, remember to always stay vigilant and discerning. Have a
Yes.
good night.
Good night, y'all.